What's going on, everybody? It's Pelfrey. And have you ever been in a situation, let me rephrase that. I know that everybody's been in a situation like this. It just comes and goes in spurts where nothing can go right, whether it's getting ready to get out the door in the morning or just the whole day in general, or a reef tank. In my current situation, nothing on the reef tank can go right. So what we have here real quick is this is just a regular Home Depot bucket with a lid that seals the salt. And what I have in here is Oil Pro salt. And you can see it moves around. There's no issues there. And when I got the bucket of the Red Sea blue bucket salt, I threw it in this 5-gallon bucket. And what I failed to do, so what I ended up doing was I took it and threw it up on this shelf here. Forgot about it, completely forgot about it. And this stuff needs to be sealed off, otherwise the salt's gonna just draw all the moisture into it. So it's as hard as a rock. I don't know if it's still usable at this point. A lesson learned on my part for sure. But I definitely didn't want to put it in this bucket because I have the Coral Pro salt in there that I need to get rid of. Again, I don't know if this is usable salt or not, but I mean, it's a solid sheet here. So I'm probably just going to throw it out unless anybody says otherwise. It's a chunk there. Probably going to throw it out and get another small bucket. So big mistake on my part. And since we're out here real quick, I do have new roadie filters coming in. So I've not made very much water with my current filters, but I figured I'd go ahead and get them changed out. Ordered them from SpectraPure. I'm probably gonna try to find a new vendor for their filters going forward, just because they charge $20 to ship them. And the shipping's not even that quick. So I ordered them on Thursday, I think, and I think they're gonna be here on like Wednesday. So for $20, filters, I figure I figure the shipping should be a little bit faster, but oh well. Let's move into the house where it's a little bit cooler and take a look at the tank. Looking at the tank, the frag rack that was here is now gone. It's been moved to the back of the tank with the one piece that is completely bleached. The tank held steady at 7.5 alkalinity for most of the week. This morning it was at 7.7, and I am dosing the ESV Bionic alkalinity, just 4 milliliters, so I backed that down to 3.5. I'd ideally like to keep this tank at 7-8, somewhere in that range, so I'm right on par with where I would like it to be. I did add acro power to the tank, and I am dosing acro power, so I need to, again, do a full panel and test calcium, magnesium. I've been dosing nitrates in the tank. I've tested nitrates a couple times this week, and they're still undetectable, but I'm putting them in the tank. And what I did with the corals is I just took them off of the frag rack and put them throughout the rock work. So the lighting schedule, nothing's changed there. I actually do have a third 160 on the way, and quite frankly, right now there's a guy on online that has an 8-bulb ATI 36-inch T5 fixture, and I really thought about buying that fixture and throwing it on his tank. And I don't know that I would be completely satisfied because I do love the Kessel Shimmer, but I don't know. I mean, the T5s, they just remove all of the user interface issues. So, but let's take a look at the corals real quick. So again, I just left them on the plugs. This money right here, it looks strange. It looks like it's coming back, but the pieces over here that are on the frag plugs might not be the best view in the world. This is probably a decent picture. So that's about middle of the tank. So yeah, that's that scratch right there in the middle of the frame. That should be about 150 par. This one's probably, I'd say, about 100 par. So all of these corals here should be in the 150-ish range. and that one there in the middle is doing very well. So the reason why I left them on the frag plug number one, you know, this piece in particular here is already encrusted on the frag plug, but I left them on the frag plug because if I need to move them for any reason. So my objective is going to be space out the 160s evenly with 3 over the tank, check the par levels. I really don't think that that's my issue. I really feel like it's a stability issue. I'm on the fence. I really would like to get another Neptune dose, just because I would really like to dose the calcium and alkalinity on one doser, and then do acro power and maybe calcwasser on a second doser. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to go about that just yet, but it's something I'm definitely considering. To rule out any temperature issues or pH issues, I've moved both of the probes here so that they're a little bit easier to get to. I thought that this temperature probe was bad. You can see it's got a lot of crustaceans and whatnot on it, but the apex reads, you know, 78, 79, so I bought this, and look at here. I actually have that little probe right next to the one for the apex, and it's reading 79, so that right there tells me that that probe is good. So I haven't had any temperature swings as of yet, and I'm going to leave this on here, and just so I can have a redundant temperature gauge. That way I can pay attention to it. Now it does require me to get into the cabinet, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. A couple other things I'd like to mention. Went ahead and I'm going out on a limb here. Boom Corals, which is a Reef to Reef vendor, did a pick 2 package where you pick 2 corals, and then they out of like 5 corals I think, and then he would select 3 more acros to sim with that. So it was, I paid the Saturday shipping charge. Otherwise it was like $125 for the 5 frags, but like I said, I went ahead and paid the extra shipping charge for Saturday delivery. So I will have 5 more acros on the way. Sitting here staring, I need to clean the glass there, which is pretty common whenever I do these videos. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was Worldwide Corals has just introduced a like a coral subscription service with a couple different tiers. Like for instance, right now, if you join this month, you'll be entered to win one of 2 Vectra Ecotech Vectra pumps, which is really cool. You can join for $100 a month. You can join and cancel at any time. But I've not done it. I've not really looked too far into it. I'm interested to see how some of the other folks like the coral packs that they're getting from Worldwide Corals. I've been following along on Reef to Reef as well. So it's typically where I follow and read about a lot of these coral vendors. Ran a full panel of tests on the Reefer 250. We got the DKH alkalinity Hannah checker. We got the Red Sea Nitrate Pro test kit. We got the Reef Foundation Pro test kit that has alkalinity, calcium, magnesium. I just did calcium and magnesium, and the Hannah phosphorus checker. So real quick, I tested alkalinity this morning at about the same time that I always check. So it was at 7.7, which it's been at 7.5 for the last 3 or 4 days. So I'm not too worried about that right there. I think that that's still acceptable. Calcium's at 420, magnesium's at 1480, phosphate 0, nitrate 0, and I've been dosing about 5 milliliters of potassium nitrate. So I'm going to bump that up a little bit. I'm going to dose some phosphates into the tank. I don't think it's parameters. I mean, I know that my alkalinity has not been the most stable thing in the world, and that's something that I'm definitely working on. But I'm definitely going to address the lighting on this tank and get that 160 on the Reefer, and hopefully that alleviates some of the problems that I've been having. So here's a little change of scenery. Right now it is about 100 degrees outside, literally. It's like 98, 99 degrees outside. This should be running, and it's not. So from the get-go, the beginning of this video, I mentioned, whenever things aren't going right, sometimes they just kind of snowball, and this is another example of things snowballing. I'm not so concerned about setting in the house myself personally. Now, I've been through this before, and it does kind of suck. The kids won't sleep very well, we won't sleep very well, whatever. But as it sits right now, the tank is at 80 degrees, which is the highest that it's ever been. So I went ahead and threw some water bottles in the freezer to try to cool them down so that I could put them in the sump. I did call someone to come out and look at this. Now, I'm not only doing this because of the fish tank. Obviously, I'd like to have my air conditioning back, but I was able to get the motor to spin. So I've isolated the problem to either a capacitor or a bad motor. I'm not really sure. The bad thing is these train units, you've probably seen a commercial for them, they're junk. And nobody ever stocks any parts for these things, not around my area anyway, so oh well. But yeah, the air conditioner has taken a crap, and you know, the Reef tank, we'll see what happens with it and how long this is gonna last. Let's see if I can capture this without the glare. On the left, you can see the actual temperature inside, which is 81. Got the thermostat set to 73 just in case it kicks on for some reason, which it won't. Typically it's on about 75. The tank, obviously. And let's take a look at this down here. 80.2. So yeah, the the struggle is real right now, folks. It's you know, it is what it is. These things happen. I'm going to do my best to alleviate any problems and keep any problems from happening. Obviously, these are my pets, so they are a priority of mine. But my wife and my kids are also the #1 priority for me, and keeping them safe, especially with the heat and the ozone alert and everything that's been going on. It's you know, it is what it is. Like I said, we went through this before. It's not a big deal, so it's not all negative. Posted a video of the situation that I have going on with the Red Sea Reefer, and Reefer JC, guy on Instagram, mentioned take a bag of ice, throw it in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the sump, which was brilliant because I was waiting for bottles of water to thaw out. So we'll drop that in there, and it's not much of a concern yet. I mean, it has gone up just a small amount, but luckily the air conditioner folks have called me back, and they're on their way. They said that they keep universal parts in stock. I believe it's a motor or a capacitor. Hopefully they can get this thing figured out. But if you're not following me on Instagram, at Pelfrey's Reef, this right here, this was a brilliant idea. It completely slipped my mind, just to take ice cubes and throw it in a sump. So thank you very much. Do you hear it? Do you hear it? All right. Shout out to my local Acme company for coming through and replacing, if you can hear me, this panel off the back comes off, and there's a capacitor in here, and that capacitor needs to be replaced. Now, why did the capacitor go bad? I asked that question because this vent here, probably can't see it, but whenever it gets dirty, it will, I guess, essentially stop the unit from running. So there's a couple things that happened here. Number one, he replaced the capacitor, and whenever he replaced the capacitor, he was unable to get the fan to spin on the unit. So what he did was he took the water hose, sprayed cold water on the motor, and that cooled the motor down enough to get it to spin. So why am I telling you this? Because if your motor quits running, what you need to do is you need to come outside, you need to go to your breaker box here, and you need to turn it off. Otherwise, there's going to be 240 volts going to your motor, regardless if it's running or not, and it's going to overheat. And if the motor's not bad, it will go bad. So take that for what it's worth. But I'm definitely not an air conditioner guy. I'm so glad that the guy got here. Let's go inside, take a look at the tank. The glare is really bad, but we're down 1 degree, and I put the thermostat on 75 where it typically is. So let's take a look at the tank. The blues are pretty heavy right now. 80.2. That bag of ice did not last at all. To be honest with you, that water is probably the same temperature as the tank now. So it was worth the shot. I probably should have put a little bit more ice in it, but oh well. So I'm gonna have to stick my hand in the tank because this frag fell off the rockwork somewhere. But we got air conditioning, folks. I'm super thrilled to know that I have working air conditioner. I'm not gonna have to worry about this all night. I'm not gonna have to worry about who's getting a good night's sleep. So again, shout out to the local Acme company. If you aren't having somebody come look at your air conditioning unit once a year, you probably need to, or you need to educate me on what to do, because it was a brain fart, didn't think anything of it. You kind of take things like this for granted until they don't work. So, not only does this affect my family, but obviously this affects this glass box that I have here in the living room. I don't really know where to go from here. I'm super, super thrilled that the air is on. So it's going to take us some time to drop down to about 75 degrees. Upstairs, I think it's set at 76 degrees. We've got 2 different zones here. So again, super, super thrilled. Thank you very much. My local Acme company, I cannot give them a shout out enough. The guy was super helpful, and he answered a ton of my questions. He probably didn't really like me standing over his shoulder, but I'm sure that he's probably pretty used to people standing over his shoulder and asking questions. So the ups and downs of owning a reef tank, it is definitely, what do you say? There's a snail that I'm trying to capture right there. He's come all the way almost out of the water. Owning a reef tank, you never know what you're truly going to get yourself into. I've learned that by trial and error. I'm going to go ahead and cut the video off here. I appreciate you following along with me. Follow me on Instagram at Pelfrey's Reef. Check out the website at pelfrey.net. Stay tuned for the next one.